The alarm screamed through the corridors of the human colony ship as Queen Elizabeth Martinez rushed toward the outer hull breach. Her boots echoed against the metal floors while emergency lights bathed everything in red. The ship had been struck by debris during their routine patrol of the Outer Rim territories. "Report," she commanded as she reached the damage control team. Lieutenant Danny Harper turned to face her, his face grim. "Your Majesty, we have a hull breach in Section 7. The good news is we managed to seal it before losing atmosphere. The strange news is that something came through the breach before we sealed it." Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. "Something? An escape pod, ma'am. It crashed right through our hull and embedded itself in the storage bay. The pod is heavily damaged, and there are life signs inside." The Queen moved quickly through the ship's corridors, her mind racing. First contact situations were always delicate, especially when they involved wounded aliens. As the elected leader of humanity's first interstellar colony, she had been preparing for this moment for years. They reached the storage bay where a team of engineers had already begun cutting into the strange pod. The craft was unlike anything in their databases. Its surface seemed to shimmer with an organic quality, almost like living tissue. Strange symbols covered its exterior, pulsing with a faint blue light. "Have you made contact?" Elizabeth asked. Engineer Maria Santos looked up from her cutting tools. "We're detecting one life form inside. Vital signs are weak but stable. The pod structure is incredibly advanced. It's going to take time to cut through without damaging whoever is inside." Elizabeth nodded and activated her communication device. "Medical team to Storage Bay 7. Prepare for possible alien casualty." As they worked to open the pod, Elizabeth couldn't help but wonder what kind of being was inside. Humanity had been searching for other intelligent life for centuries. Now that they had finally found it, the circumstances were far from ideal. The cutting beam finally broke through the pod's exterior. A hiss of escaping gases filled the air as the pod's atmospheric seal was breached. The engineers stepped back as the pod slowly opened, like a flower blooming in reverse. Inside lay a creature that took Elizabeth's breath away. It was roughly humanoid in shape but stood about 7 feet tall even while lying down. Its skin had a blue-green tint and seemed to glow softly in the dim light. 4 arms extended from its torso, each ending in delicate hands with 6 fingers. Its head was elongated with large, dark eyes that currently remained closed. "Beautiful," whispered Dr. Patricia Wells as she approached with her medical scanner. "The bone structure suggests they're from a low-gravity world. The extra limbs indicate they evolved in a 3-dimensional environment, possibly in trees or underwater." The alien's eyes suddenly snapped open, revealing irises that swirled with colors like oil on water. It tried to sit up but immediately collapsed back with what sounded like a cry of pain. Elizabeth stepped forward slowly, her hands visible and empty. "Easy there. You're safe. We're here to help." The alien's head turned toward her voice. Its large eyes widened with what could only be described as absolute terror. It began making rapid clicking sounds while trying to push itself away from the approaching humans. "It's frightened," Dr. Wells observed. "Heart rate is spiking. Whatever it's been through, it's clearly traumatic." Elizabeth crouched down to make herself appear less threatening. "We won't hurt you. You crashed into our ship. We want to help you heal." The alien continued its clicking sounds, which seemed to grow more frantic. It pointed at Elizabeth with one of its 4 hands, while the others clutched what appeared to be wounds on its torso. "Your Majesty," Lieutenant Harper interrupted, "we're getting some translation from the computer. It's basic, but we're picking up a few words." "What is it saying?" Harper looked uncomfortable. "The repeated word seems to translate to something like predator or hunter. It keeps saying Deathbringer and pointing at us." Elizabeth felt her heart sink. This beautiful creature, possibly the first alien humanity had ever encountered, was terrified of them. "It thinks we're going to hurt it." Dr. Wells continued scanning the alien. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, severe dehydration. Whatever happened to it before it reached us, it's been through hell. But it's more afraid of us than its injuries. The alien made another series of clicks, this time weaker than before. Its eyes were starting to close again, and its breathing became labored. "It's going into shock," Dr. Wells announced. "We need to get it to medical immediately, but any movement might increase its panic." Elizabeth made a decision that would change everything. She slowly reached into her jacket and pulled out a small emergency medical kit, opening it carefully so the alien could see every movement. She took out a basic pain relief patch. "Look," she said in the gentlest voice she could manage. Medicine, healing. The alien's eyes focused on the small patch. Its clicking grew softer, more questioning than frightened. Elizabeth very slowly reached toward one of the alien's wounded arms. The creature didn't pull away this time. As the pain relief medication began to work, its breathing became more regular. The look of pure terror in its eyes began to fade, replaced by something that might have been confusion, or even curiosity. "That's better," Elizabeth whispered. "We're not predators, we're friends." The alien's condition stabilized over the next several hours, but its fear remained palpable. Dr. Wells had managed to treat the most serious injuries while the creature remained conscious, its swirling eyes tracking every movement in the medical bay. Elizabeth had remained by its side throughout the treatment, speaking in soft, reassuring tones, even though she knew the alien couldn't understand most of her words. The translation computer had managed to decode more of the alien's language, revealing disturbing patterns. "Your Majesty," Chief Linguist Robert Kim approached with a datapad. "We've made significant progress with the translation matrix. The subject's name appears to be Zara, which roughly translates to Windwalker of the High Peaks. But there's something else you need to know." Elizabeth looked up from where she sat beside the alien's bed. "What is it?" Every reference to humans in its language uses words associated with apex predators, hunter-killers, death-bringers, void-stalkers. According to what we've translated, humanity has quite a reputation in this part of the galaxy. The alien Zara turned its head toward them at the sound of their voices. It spoke in a weak but steady voice, the words now partially translated through the computer system. "Why do you heal that which you will consume?" the translation rendered. "Is this how Deathbringers prepare their prey?" Elizabeth felt a chill run down her spine. "It thinks we're going to eat it." Wells shook her head. "The physiology doesn't match. Its species appears to be herbivorous based on dental structure and digestive system scans. They probably can't even conceive of healing someone you intend to hunt." Elizabeth turned to face Zara directly. She spoke slowly, giving the computer time to translate her words. "We heal because it is right. We do not consume other intelligent beings. We are not Deathbringers." Zara's eyes widened at the translation. It struggled to sit up, wincing at the pain from its healing injuries. "But the stories say humans hunt the thinking ones across the Star Ocean. They say you wear the skins of those you defeat and drink the life essence of planets." Elizabeth exchanged glances with her crew. "What stories? Who told you this?" "The Kethmar traders brought word to our world nest 3 seasons past. They spoke of humans who came from the dark between stars, taking everything, leaving nothing. They said humans breed like plague spawn and devour civilizations like flame-consumed dry grass." Lieutenant Harper stepped forward. "Your Majesty, the Kethmar are likely referring to the colonial expansion. From an outside perspective, our rapid spread across dozens of systems in the past century could appear aggressive." Elizabeth nodded, understanding beginning to dawn. Humanity's expansion into space had been driven by necessity and opportunity, but to other species, it might look like conquest. "Zara, we take empty worlds, dead worlds. We make them live again with plants and animals from our home." Zara's head tilted in confusion. "Make dead worlds live? This is not possible." Dr. Wells activated a holographic display showing Earth's terraforming projects. "We take worlds that cannot support life and change them, add water, create atmosphere, bring life where none existed." The alien stared at the images with fascination and growing confusion. "But why would Deathbringers create life? This makes no sense in the great pattern." Elizabeth smiled. "Because we're not Deathbringers, Zara. We're Life-Bringers. We help things grow." Over the following days, Zara's physical condition improved dramatically. The alien's natural healing abilities were remarkable, but its psychological state remained fragile. It would flinch whenever crew members moved too quickly or spoke too loudly. Engineer Carlos Rivera had taken to spending time with Zara, showing it how human technology worked. The alien was fascinated by their tools, but constantly surprised by their purposes. This device cuts metal, yes? Zara asked, examining a plasma cutter. Yes, but we use it to build and repair, not to harm, Carlos explained. And this one moves heavy objects? Right. It helps us construct habitats and move supplies. Zara was quiet for a long moment. Among my people, tools that can cut and move are weapons of war. You make them for creation. Elizabeth watched these interactions with growing hope. Each day, Zara seemed less afraid and more curious about human motivations. The alien had begun asking questions about everything from human reproduction to their dietary habits. You grow plants for consumption instead of hunting other thinking ones? Zara asked during one meal period. Most of us do, Elizabeth confirmed. Some humans still hunt animals for food, but we never hunt other intelligent species. This is strange to contemplate. All the stories say humans hunger for the flesh of the thinking ones. Dr. Wells looked up from her medical readings. Zara, what happened to you before you crashed into our ship? Your injuries suggest you were in some kind of conflict. Zara's demeanor changed immediately, its color shifting to a deeper blue. The Hive-Sworn came to our world nest. They said humans were coming to devour us all. They demanded we join their war pack or be consumed first by them to deny humans the pleasure. Elizabeth felt her blood run cold. The Hive-Sworn attacked your people? My pod family tried to flee to the outer system. The Hive-Sworn ships pursued us. They said it was mercy to die by their weapons rather than by human teeth. Zara's voice became barely a whisper. I saw my pod siblings die. Their ships burst like seed pods in the void. The medical bay fell silent, except for the soft hum of life support systems. Elizabeth reached out slowly and gently touched one of Zara's hands. The alien didn't pull away this time. I'm sorry for your loss, Elizabeth said. The Hive-Sworn lied to you. We would have protected your people, not harmed them. Zara looked directly into Elizabeth's eyes. You speak truth. But how can I know? Everything I believed about humans was wrong. How do I know what is real? Elizabeth stood up. Let me show you who we really are. Elizabeth led Zara through the colony ship's corridors, moving slowly to accommodate the alien's still healing injuries. The crew members they passed showed curiosity but maintained respectful distance, having been briefed about Zara's traumatic experiences. This is our agricultural section, Elizabeth explained as they entered a vast chamber filled with growing plants under artificial sunlight. The air was thick with humidity and the smell of rich soil. Zara stopped in amazement. Its large eyes took in rows upon rows of growing food plants, fruit trees, and flowering specimens from dozens of worlds. You grow all this? Inside your warship? It's not a warship, Elizabeth corrected gently. It's a colony ship. We carry life with us to plant on new worlds. Agricultural specialist Lisa Chen approached with a basket of fresh vegetables. Your Majesty, today's harvest is ready. We've got enough fresh food for the week. She noticed Zara and smiled warmly. You must be our new friend. I'm Lisa. Would you like to try some fresh fruit? These are from my home world. Zara looked nervously at Elizabeth, who nodded encouragingly. The alien carefully took a piece of the offered fruit and examined it closely. After a tentative bite, its eyes widened in surprise. This is pleasant to consume. Sweet water inside firm flesh. Zara paused, thinking. You give freely to one who cannot repay? Lisa laughed. Of course. That's what friends do. As they continued through the agricultural section, Zara observed the careful tending of plants, the recycling systems that turned waste into nutrients, and the gentle care given to each growing thing. On my world nest, only the highest pod leaders could command such abundance, Zara said. Yet here, your lowest workers eat as well as your queen. Elizabeth nodded. We believe everyone deserves good food and care. That's how we build strong communities. Their next stop was the ship's nursery, where human children played under the supervision of their teachers. The sight of the young ones caused Zara to freeze in place. The small humans, Zara whispered. They are so soft, vulnerable. Teacher Amanda Price noticed their visitor and approached with several curious children following behind. Class, this is Zara. They're visiting from another world. 8-year-old Kevin Murphy stepped forward with the fearless curiosity of childhood. "Hi, Zara. You're really tall. Are you a grown-up on your world?" Zara crouched down to Kevin's level, its movements still somewhat stiff from healing injuries. "Yes, small human. I am fully grown among my people." "Cool! Do you want to see what we're learning?" Kevin grabbed one of Zara's hands and began pulling toward a display table. Elizabeth watched as Zara allowed itself to be led by the child, its expression showing amazement at the trust being displayed. The other children quickly surrounded the alien, chattering excitedly about their lessons on planetary ecosystems and stellar navigation. "In the stories of my people, human young were said to be raised on the flesh of conquered enemies," Zara said quietly to Elizabeth while watching the children play. "What do you think now?" Elizabeth asked. Zara observed as little Sarah Martinez shared her drawing of her family's garden with the alien. "I think many stories are not truth words." After spending an hour with the children, Elizabeth and Zara visited the ship's medical bay where Dr. Guro Wells was treating a crew member who had injured his hand during routine maintenance. "Just a minor cut, Rodriguez," Dr. Wells was saying as she carefully cleaned and bandaged the wound. "Take it easy for a few days, and it'll heal perfectly." Zara watched intently as the doctor applied healing gel and synthetic skin to close the wound. "You heal all injuries, even small ones? Every person matters," Dr. Wells replied. "We don't ignore suffering just because it's minor." Rodriguez noticed Zara watching. "Hey, you're the alien who crashed into us. How are you feeling? Those were some nasty injuries when you first arrived. You show concern for my well-being even though I am not of your pack family?" Zara asked. "Of course. You're hurt and far from home. Anyone would be concerned." That evening, Elizabeth brought Zara to the ship's observation deck, where the vast expanse of space spread out before them in all directions. Distant stars twinkled like jewels against the black void. "This is where I come to think," Elizabeth said, settling into a comfortable chair. "Space is so big and we're so small. It makes our conflicts seem pointless." Zara stood silently at the window, its forearms moving in what Elizabeth had learned was a gesture of deep contemplation among its people. "My pod family and I were fleeing toward that bright star," Zara said, pointing to a brilliant blue-white point of light. "We hoped to find sanctuary among the free traders who orbit the fourth planet there." "We could take you there," Elizabeth offered. "It's not far from our planned route." Zara turned to look at her. "You would do this? Transport me to safety even though it serves no benefit to your pack family? You're not a burden, Zara. You're a person in need of help." Zara was quiet for several minutes, staring out at the stars. Finally, it spoke in a voice heavy with emotion. "The Hive-Sworn said humans were coming to my world nest to strip it of resources and consume my people. They said joining their war against humans was the only path to survival." Elizabeth felt a chill of understanding. "They used fear of us to recruit your people for a war. Many pod families fled to join their fleet. Others chose to hide in the deep caves of our world nest. A few, like my pod family, tried to escape entirely." Zara's color shifted to a deeper blue. "All chose their path based on lies about human nature. What will you do now?" Elizabeth asked gently. "I must return to my world nest. I must tell my people the truth about humans before more join the Hive-Sworn warfleet." Elizabeth stood up and moved closer to the window. "That could be dangerous. The Hive-Sworn might try to stop you from spreading the truth." "Truth words must be spoken, even at great cost to the speaker," Zara replied. "My people need to know that humans are not the death-bringers of legend. They are life-bringers who heal rather than harm." Elizabeth smiled and placed a gentle hand on one of Zara's shoulders. "Then we'll make sure you get home safely to tell them." The colony ship changed course toward Zara's home system 3 days later. During the journey, the aliens spent time learning about human culture, technology, and philosophy. The revelation that humans were not the monsters of galactic legend had shaken Zara's entire worldview. Captain Michelle Foster briefed Elizabeth on their approach to the system. Long-range sensors show heavy Hive-Sworn presence around the fourth planet. At least 12 warships in orbit, probably more we can't detect yet. Elizabeth studied the tactical display. "What about Zara's world? Third planet shows signs of massive population displacement. Most of the major cities appear to be abandoned. We're detecting some life signs in the mountainous regions, possibly refugee camps. Zara examined the sensor data with growing distress. My people have been driven from their home clusters into the harsh highlands. Many will not survive the cold season there. We need a plan to get you to the surface without alerting the Hive-Sworn fleet, Elizabeth said. Any direct approach will be seen as hostile. Chief Engineer Gary Thompson joined the discussion. We could modify one of our shuttles to mimic Hive-Sworn energy signatures, make it look like one of their scout ships returning from patrol. That's risky, Captain Foster warned. If they scan too closely, they'll detect human technology. Zara spoke up. There may be another way. The Hive-Sworn fear the crystal caverns on my world's largest moon. Ancient legends speak of guardians that devour intruders. They would not follow me there. Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. Are these guardians real? No. They are stories told to frighten younglings, but the Hive-Sworn believe them. The caverns have natural crystal formations that interfere with their sensors. I could hide there and contact resistance groups on the planet's surface. Doctor, Wells had been monitoring Zara's recovery progress. I'm concerned about your physical condition. You're healing well, but you're not ready for the stress of a dangerous mission. My people suffer while I recover in comfort aboard your ship, Zara replied firmly. I must act while there is still time to save them from the Hive-Sworn deception. Elizabeth made her decision. We'll get you to the Crystal Caverns, but you won't be going alone. Your Majesty, that's extremely risky, Captain Foster protested. We can't afford to lose you on what might be a suicide mission. My primary duty is to protect human interests, Elizabeth replied. If the Hive-Sworn are using lies about humanity to recruit allies for a war, then stopping them serves our interests perfectly. Lieutenant Harper pulled up detailed scans of the moon. The crystal formations create natural shields against sensors, but they also block communications. Once we're inside, we'll be isolated from the ship. Then we better make sure we don't need rescue, Elizabeth said. 2 days later, a modified shuttle approached the crystalline moon under cover of sensor dampening fields. Elizabeth piloted the craft herself, with Zara providing guidance about the terrain and cavern systems. Landing zone ahead, Elizabeth announced as they descended through the thin atmosphere. Those crystal formations are beautiful. The moon's surface was covered in towering spires of naturally occurring crystals that refracted the starlight into brilliant rainbows. The effect was breathtaking, but Elizabeth kept her focus on finding a safe landing spot. There, Zara pointed with one of its forearms. That clearing between the tall crystal trees, it leads to the main cavern system. They landed smoothly and began unloading supplies. Elizabeth had brought communication equipment, medical supplies, and defensive weapons, though she hoped they wouldn't need the latter. The crystal caverns were even more spectacular from the inside. Formations of living crystal grew from walls, floor, and ceiling, creating natural chambers connected by winding tunnels. The crystals themselves provided a soft, ambient light that made navigation possible. The acoustics here are remarkable, Elizabeth observed as their footsteps echoed through the chambers. Sound would carry for miles through these tunnels. That is why this place is sacred to my people, Zara explained. The songkeepers would come here to perform the great harmonies during religious festivals. The crystal songs could be heard across half the moon's surface. They established a base camp in a large chamber near the center of the cavern system. Elizabeth set up the communication equipment while Zara prepared to make contact with the resistance groups on the planet below. Signal strength is weak but functional, Elizabeth reported. The crystals are definitely interfering, but we should be able to get a message through. Zara activated the communicator using frequencies known to its people. After several attempts, a response came through the static. This is Windwalker of the High Peaks calling any FreePod families. I have returned with important truth words about the humans. The response was immediate and filled with emotion. Windwalker, we mourned you as dead when your pod ship was destroyed. How do you live? The humans saved my life and healed my injuries. Listen carefully, pod sibling. Everything the Hive-Sworn told us about humans is false. They are not death-bringers. They are healers and life-givers. The communication channel filled with multiple voices as more resistance members joined the conversation. Elizabeth could hear the disbelief and confusion in their tones, even through the translation system. "Impossible," one voice said. "The Hive-Sworn brought proof. They showed us recordings of human ships destroying entire worlds." "I have lived among them," Zara replied. "I have seen their young ones learn about growing food and healing the sick. I have seen them risk their lives to save strangers. The recordings must be false." Elizabeth took the communicator. "This is Queen Elizabeth Martinez of the Human Colonial Federation. We want peace with your people. The Hive-Sworn are lying to you." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, a voice responded. "A human speaks our language. This is either miracle or trick." "No trick," Elizabeth replied. "We learned your language to help Zara heal from wounds received fleeing the Hive-Sworn. We want to help your people understand the truth." Over the next several hours, they coordinated with resistance groups across the planet. The communication was risky, as each transmission might be detected by Hive-Sworn monitors, but the truth had to be spread. "Many of our people joined the Hive-Sworn fleet," one resistance leader reported. "They believed the lies about human monsters coming to devour us." "How do we convince them to return?" "With proof," Elizabeth replied. "Live testimony from someone they trust, who has seen the truth." Zara made a decision that would change everything. "I will broadcast to the entire system. The Hive-Sworn will try to stop me, but my people need to hear truth words." Elizabeth looked at the alien with admiration and concern. "That will expose our location. The Hive-Sworn will come for us." "Then we better make the message count," Zara replied with determination. The system-wide broadcast began at dawn on Zara's homeworld. Elizabeth had helped boost the signal using her ship's communication array, ensuring that every inhabited planet and spacecraft in the system would receive Zara's message. "Children of the wind in high places, hear my words," Zara began, its voice carrying the formal cadences of traditional oratory. "I am Windwalker of the High Peaks, thought lost to the void dark when Hive-Sworn ships destroyed my pod family's escape vessel." The response was immediate. Communication channels across the system crackled to life as Zara's people recognized the distinctive voice patterns of their respected storyteller and keeper of traditions. "The Hive-Sworn told us humans were death-bringers who consume thinking beings and strip life from worlds. They showed us images of destruction and spoke of coming horror. I believed these words and fled in fear." Elizabeth monitored the broadcast while keeping watch on their security scanners. The Hive-Sworn fleet had begun moving as soon as the transmission started. They had perhaps an hour before enemy ships reached the moon. I crash-landed on a human vessel, wounded and dying. I expected torture and consumption. Instead, I found healing hands and gentle voices. The human queen herself tended my injuries and spoke soft comfort words while I recovered. Captain Foster's voice came through Elizabeth's personal communicator. "Your Majesty, 16 Hive-Sworn ships have broken orbit and are heading for the moon. Estimated arrival in 53 minutes. Elizabeth acknowledged the warning and turned back to support Zara's broadcast. The alien continued its testimony with growing passion. "I have walked among humans. I have seen their young ones learn arts of peace and growing. I have watched them heal not just my body but also minor injuries to their own pack members. They share food freely and show kindness to strangers." Responses began flooding in from across the system. Some voices expressed joy at learning Zara had survived. Others showed confusion and disbelief about the description of humans. A few angrily accused Zara of being deceived or corrupted by human influence. "The truth words hurt to speak," Zara continued. "Many pod families have joined the Hive-Sworn war fleet based on false information. Our siblings fly to battle against beings who would have been our friends and protectors." Elizabeth added her own voice to the broadcast. "People of the high peaks and wind paths, I am Elizabeth Martinez, leader of the humans who saved your storyteller. We came to space not to consume, but to create. We seek empty worlds to fill with life, not populated ones to destroy." The scanner alarms began blaring. "Contact," Elizabeth announced. "Hive-Sworn scout ships entering the outer moon system. We need to finish this quickly." Zara spoke faster now, urgency clear in its voice. I call upon all pod families who have joined the Hive-Sworn to abandon their warships. The humans offer friendship and mutual protection. The real enemy is those who spread lies and profit from fear. A new voice cut through the communication channels, harsh and mechanical. It was clearly artificial, filtered through translation systems. Foolish Windwalker, you have been poisoned by human deception. Their queen speaks lies through your corrupted voice box. Elizabeth recognized the communication pattern from military briefings. That's a Hive-Sworn command ship. They're jamming most frequencies now. The artificial voice continued its counter-message. Humans are master deceivers who use false kindness to lower defenses before striking. The Windwalker has been broken by human psychological techniques. Do not believe its corrupted words. Zara's color shifted to an angry red-orange that Elizabeth had never seen before. I speak my own truth words. No being controls my voice or thoughts. I have seen human nature with my own eyes. Your eyes see only what humans want you to see, the Hive-Sworn voice replied. Even now, their warships approach to capture more victims for their experiments. Elizabeth felt frustrated anger rising. The Hive-Sworn were twisting even their rescue mission into evidence of hostile intent. Our ships are here to protect Zara and help spread the truth. Humans always claim protection while bringing destruction, the mechanical voice responded. Your presence in this system proves our warnings were correct. The scanner showed enemy ships now within the moon's gravity well. Elizabeth made rapid calculations of distance and time. Zara, we need to evacuate now. They'll be here in 20 minutes. But Zara was not finished. Its forearms moved in patterns Elizabeth recognized as gestures of absolute determination. Children of wind and peaks, I make the great oath of truth-binding. By the crystal songs of our ancestors and the memory of the first settlements, I swear these words are pure truth, uncontaminated by deception or fear. The great oath was clearly significant. Even through the communication static, Elizabeth could hear gasps and exclamations from listeners across the system. Several voices began speaking at once. Windwalker speaks the great oath, one said with awe. No storyteller would risk the curse of false oath-making. If the truth words are real, another voice added, then many of our pod siblings fight on the wrong side of this war. The Hive-Sworn commander's voice returned, now showing strain. The Windwalker has been driven to madness by human tortures. The great oath cannot be trusted when spoken by a broken mind. Elizabeth saw their chance. Then let others verify the truth. We invite representatives from all free pod families to visit our ship. See for yourselves how humans really live. Witnesses, Zara added quickly. Let trusted voices from each major pod family come to judge my words. The truth will shine like crystal song under examination. The scanner showed enemy ships beginning to land on the moon's surface. Elizabeth grabbed emergency supplies while Zara gathered the communication equipment. Combat teams deploying from landed vessels, Elizabeth reported to her ship. We're moving to secondary position deeper in the caverns. They retreated through winding crystal passages as the sound of pursuing footsteps echoed behind them. The Hive-Sworn had brought tracking equipment and moved with military precision through the cave system. This way, Zara whispered, leading them through a narrow passage between towering crystal formations. The song chamber ahead has multiple exit routes. They emerged into a vast cavern where crystals formed natural acoustic amplifiers throughout the space. Even their whispered words created haunting echoes that seemed to sing through the chamber. Elizabeth's communicator crackled with Captain Foster's voice. Your Majesty, we're detecting massive energy buildup from the Hive-Sworn fleet. They're preparing to bombard the moon's surface. They're willing to destroy their own people to stop the truth from spreading, Elizabeth realized with horror. Zara's color shifted to deep blue as it understood the implication. The crystal caverns are sacred to my people. The Hive-Sworn would commit sacrilege to silence truth words. Elizabeth made a desperate decision. Foster, broadcast our location to the entire system. Let everyone see what the Hive-Sworn are willing to do to prevent their lies from being exposed. The bombardment began as Elizabeth and Zara took shelter deep within the crystal caverns. The moon's surface shook with each impact, causing ancient crystal formations to resonate with haunting musical tones. The sacred caverns were turning into a war zone. System-wide broadcast active, Captain Foster reported through the emergency communicator. Every ship and settlement is watching the Hive-Sworn bombard their own people's holy site to stop a storyteller from speaking. The mechanical voice of the Hive-Sworn commander filled the communication channels. The humans have corrupted this sacred place with their presence. We purify it with cleansing fire. But other voices were responding now, and they sounded increasingly angry. Elizabeth could hear the outrage building across the system as Zara's people watched their most sacred site being attacked. You fire upon the song chambers where our ancestors first spoke the great harmony, one voice accused. This is blasphemy beyond forgiveness. The Windwalker and the humans seek only to speak truth words, another added. Why do you silence them with violence if your own words are pure? Zara stood despite the danger, its forearms spread wide as it spoke into the communicator. See how the Hive-Sworn respond to truth words? They bring weapons against sacred crystal songs. They would rather destroy than allow questions about their claims. A massive explosion shook the cavern, bringing down several crystal formations. Elizabeth pulled Zara deeper into the tunnel system as debris crashed around them. The bombardment is affecting the crystal resonance patterns, Elizabeth observed as strange harmonic frequencies filled the air. The whole cavern system is starting to sing. The effect was extraordinary. Each explosion on the surface created sympathetic vibrations in thousands of crystal formations throughout the cavern network. The result was an ethereal music that seemed to carry emotional weight beyond simple sound. The crystals sing of pain and violation, Zara said with wonder and grief. They have never sung such songs before. The ancestors would weep to hear it. The crystal song was being broadcast across the entire system along with their voices. Every ship and settlement could hear the sacred caverns crying out in harmonics that spoke of violence done to holy places. This is Captain Sandra Moore of the trading vessel Windrider. A new voice joined the communications. I'm bringing a delegation of pod family representatives to witness the truth. The Hive-Sworn cannot stop all of us. Captain Moore, this is dangerous, Elizabeth warned. The Hive-Sworn are using heavy weapons. Your Majesty, my ship carries respected leaders from 12 pod families. They demand to see evidence of human nature with their own eyes. More voices joined the channel. The vessel Song of Deep Waters approaches with witnesses. Star Touched by Wind carries truth seekers from the mountain settlements. Swift Current Runner brings voices of the young ones who refuse to join the Warfleet. Elizabeth felt hope rising despite their desperate situation. Zara, your people are coming to find the truth for themselves, and the Hive-Sworn grow more desperate to stop them. Zara replied, pointing to the scanner display. Enemy forces have entered the cavern system. They hunt us directly now. Heavy footsteps echoed through the crystal passages as armed Hive-Sworn troops moved methodically through the cave network. Their artificial voices could be heard giving tactical reports as they searched for Elizabeth and Zara. Targets located in the deep song chambers, deploying capture nets and stun weapons. Elizabeth checked her defensive equipment. She carried only light weapons, designed more for protection than combat. I'm not equipped for a firefight with professional soldiers. Zara touched Elizabeth's shoulder with one of its 4 hands. There are passages known only to the Songkeepers, ways that lead to the deep heart chamber where sound itself was born according to legend. They moved quickly through narrow crevices between crystal walls, following paths that had been carved by countless generations of pilgrims seeking the source of the sacred harmonies. The pursuit sounds grew fainter behind them. The heart chamber ahead, Zara whispered. If legend speaks truly, sound created here will reach every crystal in the cavern system and beyond. They emerged into a chamber unlike anything Elizabeth had ever seen. The space was perfectly spherical, with crystal formations arranged in geometric patterns that seemed to focus and amplify sound waves. Even their breathing created complex harmonics that filled the space with music. It's beautiful, Elizabeth breathed, then immediately regretted speaking as her words generated cascading musical phrases that seemed to hang in the air. Captain Foster's voice came through the communicator, now enhanced by the chamber's acoustic properties. Your Majesty, the witness ships have arrived. Representatives from 37 pod families are requesting permission to board our vessel. Elizabeth smiled despite their dangerous situation. Permission granted. Show them everything, Foster. Hold nothing back. Determinated. The artificial voice of the Hive-Sworn commander cut through the channel. Human vessel, you will surrender the corrupted Windwalker and accept escort to our processing facilities for debriefing. Negative, Foster replied firmly. The Windwalker is under human protection and free to leave whenever it chooses. Then you have chosen war. The Hive-Sworn responded. All ships in this system are now classified as hostile. The heavy footsteps of Hive-Sworn soldiers were approaching through multiple passages. They were surrounded. Zara, Elizabeth said quietly, whatever happens, keep talking to your people. The truth has to get out. The alien's color shifted to a pattern Elizabeth had never seen before, swirling silver and gold like liquid starlight. Among my people, this coloration appears only when one prepares for the final song duty that completes a life's purpose. Don't talk like that. We're going to get out of this. Perhaps, but if not, I will sing the song of truth completion here in the heart chamber. Every crystal on this moon will carry my final testimony to the stars themselves. The first Hive-Sworn soldiers appeared at the chamber entrances, their weapons trained on Elizabeth and Zara. But instead of firing, their leader spoke in mechanical translated tones. Surrender peacefully and you will be processed humanely. Resistance will result in necessary termination protocols. Elizabeth stood protectively in front of Zara, though she knew her small sidearm would be useless against military-grade equipment. The truth doesn't need weapons to defend itself. Truth is what we determine it to be, the Hive-Sworn leader replied. Your version of truth threatens the stability of our alliance network. That's when the crystal chamber filled with new voices broadcasting from the approaching ships of Zara's people. We are coming, Windwalker. Hold fast to truth words until witnesses arrive. The standoff in the crystal heart chamber stretched taut as voices from across the system continued broadcasting messages of support for Zara and Elizabeth. The Hive-Sworn soldiers maintained their positions but seemed uncertain about how to proceed with so many witnesses watching. Multiple ships detected entering the cavern moon's atmosphere, one soldier reported to his commander. Local population vessels carrying verification delegations. The Hive-Sworn leader's mechanical voice carried obvious frustration. All units maintain position. The corruption must not be allowed to spread regardless of witness presence. Elizabeth kept her small weapon ready while using her communicator to coordinate with Captain Foster. What's the status of the witness delegations? Boarding our ship now, Your Majesty. Representatives from 43 pod families so far. Dr. Wells is giving them the full tour, starting with our medical bay and agricultural sections. Through the communication channel, Elizabeth could hear the amazed voices of Zara's people as they experienced human technology and culture firsthand. Their reactions mirrored Zara's initial wonder at discovering humans were not the monsters of legend. These healing devices? One voice said with awe. They repair damage without causing pain? And this growing chamber contains food plants from many worlds, another added. Diversity of life rather than consumption of life. Dr. Wells' voice provided explanation. We believe in healing and growing rather than hurting and taking. That's the foundation of human ethics. The Hive-Sworn commander's voice cut across the transmissions. Witnesses are being deceived by carefully staged demonstrations. Humans are master manipulators who show only what serves their purposes. But now other voices were responding, and they carried the authority of respected leaders and truth speakers from across Zara's civilization. I am Deep Root of Mountain Stones, eldest speaker of the High Settlements. I have examined this human medical technology. It shows no capacity for harm, only healing. This is far sight of ocean depths from the coastal pod families. The human food-growing systems create abundance rather than scarcity. These are not the tools of death-bringers. More witness voices joined the growing testimony. Each pod family representative reported the same findings. Human technology, human culture, and human behavior all contradicted the Hive-Sworn propaganda about ruthless predators consuming their way across the galaxy. Zara spoke from within the crystal chamber, its words carried and amplified by the natural acoustics. Truth speakers and wisdom keepers, you see with your own eyes what I discovered in my healing time among humans. They are builders of life, not destroyers of it. The Hive-Sworn soldiers shifted restlessly as more witness reports contradicted their narrative. Their leader made a desperate decision. All units, prepare for containment protocol. We cannot allow this corruption to reach the Greater Alliance network. Elizabeth recognized the shift in posture that indicated the soldiers were preparing to use lethal force. Zara, they're gonna try to kill us both to silence the testimony. The alien's coloration shifted to brilliant silver and gold as it began what Elizabeth realized was the Song of Truth completion. Zara's voice rose in complex harmonies that resonated through every crystal in the chamber and beyond. The effect was extraordinary. The song carried not just through the cavern system, but seemed to vibrate through the moon itself and out into space, where it was picked up by every communication array in the system. The Truth Completion Song, voices across the system whispered in recognition. Windwalker sings the final testimony. But as Zara sang, something unexpected happened. Other voices began joining the song from across the system. First one, then dozens, then hundreds of voices added their harmonies to Zara's truth-telling. The collective song created a resonance effect that overloaded the Hive-Sworn communication jamming equipment. For the first time since the crisis began, clear communication was restored between all ships and settlements in the system. The harmony speaks truth, proclaimed Deeproot of Mountain Stones. All pod families must hear these words. The humans are not our enemies. The Hive-Sworn have deceived us, added Farsight of Ocean Depths. They used our fear to recruit us for their war against innocent beings. The mechanical voice of the Hive-Sworn commander grew increasingly desperate. Do not listen to this corruption. The humans have poisoned your sacred songs with lies. But it was too late. The Truth Completion harmony had spread beyond the ability of any force to contain it. Captain Foster's voice carried news of the growing response. Your Majesty, we're receiving defection requests from over 60 ships in the Hive-Sworn Alliance fleet. Their crews are requesting asylum and protection from human forces. Elizabeth felt a surge of hope. What about the ships still loyal to the Hive-Sworn? Retreating from the system. Their commanders seem to have realized they can't maintain control once the truth spreads. In the Crystal Chamber, the Hive-Sworn soldiers were receiving new orders. Their leader's voice carried obvious defeat. Command has ordered full withdrawal. The Alliance network in this sector has been compromised beyond recovery. As the soldiers filed out of the chamber, their leader paused to speak directly to Elizabeth and Zara. This victory is temporary. The Hive-Sworn have resources across 100 systems. One species learning the truth will not stop our expansion. Elizabeth lowered her weapon as the last soldier departed. Maybe not, but it's a beginning. Captain Foster's voice carried excitement as he reported the final developments. Your Majesty, the planetary government is requesting formal diplomatic relations with humanity. They're offering to share their story with other species who have been recruited by Hive-Sworn lies. Zara's song finally came to an end, leaving the crystal chamber filled with gentle echoes. The alien's coloration had returned to its normal blue-green, but Elizabeth could see exhaustion in its posture. The Truth Completion is finished, Zara said quietly. My people know humans as friends rather than enemies. The great deception has been revealed. Elizabeth helped support Zara as they began making their way back through the cavern system toward their shuttle. What will you do now? My pod family is gone, but I have found new family among the truth speakers and witnesses. There is work to do, spreading the real story of human nature to other worlds deceived by Hive-Sworn lies. As they emerged from the crystal caverns into the alien sunlight, Elizabeth saw ships from across the system landing to collect their delegation members. The moon's surface, scarred by the bombardment, was already being surveyed by repair teams who wanted to heal the damage done to their sacred site. Your Majesty, Captain Foster approached with a datapad full of communications. We're receiving contact requests from 12 other star systems. Word is spreading about what happened here. Elizabeth looked up at the stars visible in the alien sky. Each point of light might represent civilizations that had been deceived about human nature, recruited for wars against innocent people based on lies and fear. Then we have a lot of work ahead of us, she said, placing a gentle hand on Zara's shoulder. Good thing we're not doing it alone. Zara's eyes swirled with colors Elizabeth had learned indicated contentment and hope. The song of truth completion never truly ends. It simply moves from voice to voice, world to world, until all beings know the harmony. As their shuttle lifted off from the crystal moon, Elizabeth reflected on what they had accomplished. One wounded alien, one act of kindness, and one moment of truth-telling had changed the balance of an interstellar conflict. Perhaps that was how peace was really built. Not through grand gestures or overwhelming force, but through individual connections that revealed the common humanity shared by all thinking beings, regardless of what world they called home. The stars ahead held both challenges and opportunities. But Elizabeth felt confident that truth, once released, would find a way to reach every corner of the galaxy where beings sought freedom from fear and the hope of friendship among the stars.